Yo, what's good? What's good, everyone? I know it's been a while. YouTube is not my full-time job. But hey, I'm glad y'all able to tune in. I have my boy coming back, Zaire, coming back again. As y'all saw, as you seen in the thumbnail, we talking about what is blackness. So I know it's kind of vague, but we're gonna definitely explain what we're talking about regarding that question. What is blackness? And it's a lot of stuff going on in the media today. Got have us questioning what is blackness. So, without further ado, man, we're gonna jump into this topic. But hey, guys, also whether you watching it live or you watching it down the road later on YouTube, just remember, please remember to subscribe. If you feel like you got something to take away from this broadcast tonight, man, please subscribe and like the video. But let's get into it tonight, Zaire. So you came to me with this question, like, man, let's do it. Let's do this topic talking about what is blackness. So since it's your idea, I want you to, to frame where we going with this and what made you bring about this question.
So that's a good way to put it. Well, what exactly is blackness? That's a hard question because it is very vague and it changes, and we have to really study this origin of blackness as it relates to us here in America and across the world, and what exactly does this mean in this question of blackness. But what made me bring it up is I started to see a losing of blackness in our communities. Like, I just started to feel that black isn't really black no more, man. Black, to me, what I used to think a community, I used to think a strong culture. Like, you think of the 70s and the past where you had soul, you had James Brown, soul power. There was a thing about being black. It just doesn't seem like it's there no more. I don't even think these new generation, which I'm kind of talking about my generation, because it's not like I'm born in the 70s, but I don't think that this generation would be able to produce that same kind of music, that same kind of literature, right? We're talking about Invisible Man. We're talking about, they don't even really care about reading a lot of this literature, and this isn't me trying to tear down this next generation, but I'm really trying to investigate and figure out, has there been a loss of blackness? Has there been a loss of that identity, a true depiction or a true feeling, a true experience of blackness? Has it been lost? And if it has been lost, well, I want to get into why I believe that it's lost.
Well, let's start there then, because you bring up an interesting point. Where would you say, in your own opinion, and folks, we're not saying this is fact. We just chopping it up like it was just me and him here. So where would you say, in your opinion, we lost that per se, that blackness as a black culture or a black group of people within the confine of our captivity here?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna start with the most recent attack on blackness, and that's post-integration. I'm gonna go ahead and start there, because I feel like what ends up happening is people are saying this is what it means to be successful, and it's to give to the capitalists, it's to give to these white folks, it's to be next to them. So once we started getting in there, we weren't together no more. And so we started to separate, and now we become just like the white folks. We become no different. We're in such close proximity to them. I don't think we ever really established cultural norms that really made us who we are. And so now that you have this post-integrated society, I just see this terrible loss of a true connection of blackness. It's almost like this new generation is watching BET and is going, "Oh, that must be what black is." And
hell, BET is not the same no more.
And that's the thing. It's none of this. Everything is becoming this artificial carbon copy of things. And I think that the heart of the problem is that we started identifying too much with America. And what I mean by this is we started identifying with American success. We started identifying with everything that they had, instead of really saying, well, who are we and what could we potentially be losing? Right now, some people did mention that back in the day, but I think that this is where the origin of our problem starts.
So can we kind of blame that on the bourgeoisie class of black folks, the ones that W.E. Du Bois counter created with the talented tent? Is he partially to blame of leading us down that road of losing our blackness and leading that charge of integrating with white folks? What's your thoughts on that?
Du Bois' talented 10th, he was trying to raise up a group of people that could fight for the Black community. He wanted to raise up a group of folks that would run around and really be in our self-interest, right? I think what ends up happening is we see the development of Black struggle. We kind of get these ideas of what are we going to do, right? Are we going to have our own? Are we going to kind of try to separate and maintain our own? Or are we going to try to integrate? Right. And so the question of why always has to be blamed to this false sense of leadership. You know, maybe some of the ideas they did take from Du Bois, but I think that they misinterpreted what he was really going for with that talented 10th. Right. And so what ends up happening is all these folks are saying, well, if I'm going to survive in America, why try to go hard and have our own when we could just kind of step in here and say, you know what, we're just going to have a piece of what you guys got. Right. This goes back in a lot of these arguments where Black folks were trying to say, you know, stop treating us bad. We're human just like you're human. We're part of this thing like you are. There's early books on Black family. I'd have to go and look real quick, but it's these two separations. It's like this. It's a Jewish guy who was writing a book about Black family, and this is interesting. And he was depicting the connections with like that African Americans have with Africa. But then there was kind of more Black scholars who were trying to push to say, no. We're actually more American than we are African. And see, and that was all determined by the fact that as we were trying to struggle, people were saying, oh, we don't want to be separate. We want to be a part of this thing. So I think that the leadership always had this sellout kind of punk attitude and didn't want to stand up. So, yeah.
We have this as, you know, Africans being in this continent, we have this schism that we fight with every second within ourselves. We have this schism. We want to retain our blackness, or we try to retain our blackness, but at the same time, we have that schism that we know we can't be our true selves when we go into corporate America, when we going out into the public, because at the end of the day, we are this is a country full of white people at the end of the day. I know we have pockets like Atlanta, New Orleans, Jackson, Mississippi. A lot of places in the South have pockets of a lot of Black people or majority Blacks, but overall, the overall country is a white country. So we have that schism. We always gotta put that white mask on when we go out into the public, and when we go out into the corporate world, when we talking on the phone, customer service job, or whatever we may do, we talking to our boss, we got to talk with whiteness. So we unlike a lot of people, we by default gotta have a schism to survive.
Right.
So it's like every day is a battle, you know, you battling yourself, and you just gotta wear so many different hats to even fit in to be yourself, you know. Of course, they always say in this new post world we live in, diversity and inclusion and all that, but we all know we can't really be our full Black selves at work, you know. We still got to talk with white lingo because we can't fully express ourselves in our true forms when we in corporate America, regardless of how many diversity and inclusion meetings they have and try to implement it. We can never be our true selves at the workplace. We know that.
And that's a part of what Du Bois was talking about, is that double consciousness, right? Like the double consciousness exists in Blacks, you know, this double loyalty of being, you know, Black and American, not quite yet African, not quite yet American, right? And so he kind of hints towards that in the beginning. And so, you know, what we see going on right now is that continuation, right? We see that continuation where we're afraid to speak up. But that was the beauty of a lot of these cultural resistance efforts, right? It was saying we are Black, we are proud, we're going to stand up for ourselves, we're going to speak for ourselves. This goes back to the notion of Blackness, right? Black, I was always taught, was color, consciousness, and even connection to the cosmos. That's a self-creating thing. It's a self-emancipatory feeling, right? But it's also a connection with community, and it's a culture that gives us that soul power, as they call it, or soul force, which is our ability to withstand all kind of oppression, but yet still overcome. That was that kind of blackness. You could see on goddamn Soul Train. You see all the brothers dancing, the way that we used to talk, the way that we speak, you know. And I'm starting to feel that we're losing that, you know, because we are afraid to go back and be a real black, because even also a lot of those corporations you're talking about even appropriated a lot of this blackness too, and that's a big problem.
It kind of made me think about, you remember back in the early 2000s when the 20-inch rims came out. No cars had 20-inch. Now, if you selling vehicles, especially the top of the line vehicles, they come custom. They come with the 20-inch rims now. It's like, let's go back to how they appropriate our stuff, you know, and then repackage and sell it back to us as American
as an American thing. But look at what we created. We're talking about gospel. We're talking about blues. We're talking about jazz. You know, we're talking about rock. We're talking about hip hop. You know, and all of these forms of music have been worldwide now. You know, and part of this issue that I have is, while it's great to be appreciated on a world scale, right? Awesome. Why can't we retain these practices? And why is it that most of our people don't know the importance of John Coltrane or Miles Davis? Or why is it that I can't play a trumpet or play the piano? I feel like that should be something that's a part of our households, because we created jazz. We created blues. We should know these stories. We should be proud of who we are and what we invented, and it should be a part of our culture. Just like everybody knows, I'm a practitioner of African spirituality. Some people call it voodoo. But when you initiate into voodoo, you're actually initiated into a particular people's culture. And I initiated into the Ewe culture. And they got dances that they do that's so particular to them. And those are things that you got to learn and study and understand about those people. When you initiate the culture, you got to understand the dance. You got to understand their marriage rituals. You got to understand their politics. You know, that they want to have their own nation just like we do. But it's controlled when you come in, you see. And our problem, I feel like, is we don't control a lot of these institutions. And so they're able to appropriate all of these things. And like you said, they just sell it right back to us.
So how can we get control of these things? Like, are we just doomed because we in this country because we don't have control of land that we can sovereign ourselves? I know this is an age-old question within the Black community. Should we just be a nation within a nation, or should we get outside of the United States of America and find a piece of land in Africa? Like, what is? It's not an easy answer, but what are your thoughts on that? Like, it's a tough question.
It's a tough question. The first thing starts off with consciousness always, and being very conscious and aware of who we are. That's number one. You know, we got to spark that interest in what it means. Now, the second thing is we have to take control of some of these institutions, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to have like our own like schools. However, we have to have institutions that we're able to reinforce these notions within ourselves, right? Now, originally, one of the very first, in fact, the very first Black institution in America was Black churches. But the problem with Black churches is they were so, kind of slave making temples, but not all of them, right? There was parts where people played a significant resistance, and we got to give props. And there's so many African centered churches here. You've been to the one we showed you in Atlanta, that served as a purpose of resistance. But we have to go back and create these institutions, and we have to figure out what kind of rituals that we can maintain that says you're a young Black man or you're a young Black woman, right? So understand your Blackness. So number one, this is a culture we're going to pass down. You know, for example, jumping the broom, is that a ritual that belongs to us? Let's study it, and then when we do get married, let's make sure we do it that way, right? I hate to diss the brother, but I think I saw a long time ago, Young Jeezy. I think he married homegirl, Asian. Yeah, and I saw a wedding picture, and I felt like he did a marriage ritual in their culture. But I wonder, would he even thought, or would he even know that Black folks have a way that we get married, a way that we do this? And are they going to play Earth, Wind, and Fire down there? Are they gonna play Cool in the Game down there? Are they gonna play Miles Davis? Are they gonna play anybody? No, hell no. They don't be like, what the hell? You know, they might play a couple of his tracks. You know, at least I hope they would. They gonna play
I don't even think they played any of his tracks. They didn't even play any of his tracks at the wedding. He was so happy to have that Chinese woman, man. I mean, stop. We on YouTube. Oh, my bad. But you know, he was so happy to have that woman.
But that's why I promote Black love. I say, man, we don't all of this stuff. We got to maintain who we are, you know, and all of that stuff is when you hear it. I think sometimes Black folks we forget and we take some of our stuff for advantage, right? I know a lot of Black folks here in Atlanta, born and raised, you know, and they may absolutely hate it. I mean, sometimes they see the shrine in a Black Madonna that you went to, and they just take advantage, like these Black historical communities that are here. And it's like, no. We have to really be conscious of our Blackness, our Black struggle, our culture. And maybe that's the first step. And we can start to appreciate that. Just like, again, we went to the Black Holocaust Museum or the Slave Holocaust Museum here. That's so important to teach that history, but we have to create these institutions in order to reinforce that, and then create these rituals, right? Rituals are anything like marriage and rites of passage programs, which is a very important one. So that way we can pass down cultural knowledge to each other.
Man, that's a good start right there. We got to start reestablishing a lot of the things that we used to have. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just gotta just just take back advantage of the things that we already have, and we'll be fine overall. At the end of the day, but yeah, and then they try to and now today in the media they try to redefine Blackness. They try to create this new twist to what Blackness is now. A lot of things, and I'm not trying to talk about a particular group of people, but what the dominant society seems like they're trying to do now is they try to create Blackness to be somehow Blackness and the LGBTQ and all that stuff is one and the same, you know. So whenever they talk about some Blackness, they got to throw like somebody from that community into the scene to represent Black people, you know. And I'm not being disparaging towards that group, but that's what they try to recreate what Blackness is right now.
And that's the importance of us, right? Being able to come together and determining who we are from our own center. I think one of our biggest problems and why this is happening is that we've always defined ourselves by things that we're against instead of defining ourselves by things we're for, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like if we start with who we are, right? Then all of these other things reflect. You know, that's what culture is. It's an outlook, right? So let's just not say, well, oh, they're against that, so that means, or they're for this, so therefore we're against that. No, who are we and what are we for, right? And then we move forward on as a basis that be our foundation and move forward as a collective like that. But I want to go back because I forgot to answer the question. It does start off by seeing ourselves, right, as extensions of Africa. So then we see ourselves as a nation within a nation here within these borders. Right. But I think ultimately we should be looking at extending ourselves outside of America, because as you put, this dominant society will always reign on us, and we're always going to lose people to want to integrate into the greater society. So I feel like we have to figure out a way, either the destruction of America, or we have to find a landmass outside of America for us to truly be a self-determined people.
How do we reconnect to the motherland? What would you say the first step someone can do, or as a collective group we need to be doing to reconnect to motherland? I'm not gonna say a particular country. It's a lot of countries in the continent of Africa. But what steps can somebody do to reconnect, or what as a group of people we can do to reconnect? Let FBA people tell it, you know. It ain't no hope that, like, all the Africans hate us, you know. They all call us lazy Akatas, you know. I mean, and that's I'm gonna go on a tangent real fast. There's some truth into the stuff FBA people says. We can't deny that. I just hate when they take a small group of people that have feel a certain way about Black Americans, but the label the whole continent like that, it's dangerous, you know, because we still need to be having a Pan-African mindset at the end of the day, you know. So I feel like when the FBA thing came up, it caused the people over there, a lot of them, to be defensive, you know, and start to lash back out. And then you said FBA people say, "Oh no, y'all did it first," and blase. When okay, that's not work. That's not focused on what our issues are with each other. That's just, we still need to be trying to work to build a bridge on both sides. You know, we got, y'all got issues that y'all may have with us, and we may have issues. Well, but at the end of the day, we need to resolve that shit behind closed doors and still build, because at the end of the day, white supremacy and white people, they gonna click clack together and still try to enslave us. And because slavery never went away, you know, the slavery and the capitalism and that America practiced, they just outsourced the slavery into sweatshops in another country. So when people be talking about slavery and America did away with slavery, we never got rid of slavery. You know, we just outsourced slavery to somebody else to deal with it, so we won't have to take the backlash for it, because capitalism still must survive on underprivileged and people getting taken advantage of, whether you can see it or not see it. It's someone is getting taken advantage of. So at the end of the day, we still got to work together as a collective in the diaspora, you know. Even though it's some truths into what the FBA people said, but we can't be so petty and just want to bicker and fight with each other at the same time. So,
man, there is you know, I think they do bring up a lot of truths, right? I mean, that's a hard thing to say, right? That's a hard pill to swallow. And part of this is the changing nature of our struggles and the failure of some of our groups to update these theories that we got, right? Because what we do see is like, let's say our brothers and sisters from the continent that may come here under their own form of white supremacy or colonization from there, right? And they may hate on us over here. However, FBA has to tell the truth and say, right, we done said some things like African booty scratch and stuff like that has made fun of our people from the continent, right? And so there is a struggle here about, but whose lens are we looking at each other from? That's number one. And that's why that first step of understanding your Africanness is very important, because what you start to see is you see yourself as a part of the continent. You see yourself as a part of the greater diaspora, right? You start to see, wait a minute, we went through slavery, so they did so in Brazil too, and they resisted in this kind of way with the Colombos, right? With King Zumbi and the Colombos, our people in Jamaica, Queen Annie and the Maroons, right? Haiti went through their revolution, and this is all part of our greater African struggle to unify ourselves against the white supremacy and capitalism, right? And they've always been able to play people against each other. That's how they defeated Native Americans on their own land.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, those are one of the things is we got to be able to say, wait a minute, why are we hating each other? What's going on with us? You know, and why is our beef so bad with each other? And I'm going to tell you one thing about a lot of these folks. I've had conversations with a lot of these people, and they'll take so much offense to something the brother and sister did from the continent, right? That the white man been doing for years, and they'll forgive them like it's like that, right? They'll bow down to these white folks and say, well, you know what? You got to forgive them. You know, what are you going to do? You're going to hold hatred in your heart for the white folks, you know? But when it comes to the brothers and sisters from the continent and vice versa, right, it's all this hostility. So I think there's some, even with the truths that are being told, there's still some underlying, self-hate there between us and them. So I think one of the biggest ways we need to do, see ourselves, understand our history and the connection. African people, Black folks from America went to Haiti, right? Helped with the struggle. Haitian Revolution, had this influence throughout the entire diaspora and even influenced some struggles back on the continent. You know, we got to see ourselves as this greater ongoing struggle where we're united, right? And that's just it. You know, we got to just understand our history better, and then make these connections culturally. See ourselves as a part of African. Understand our own institute. Again, going back to creating institutions where we're teaching ourselves these things. Once we do that, we connect back to the continent, and we'll get this thing popping again.
Man, facts. And I do transition a little bit. That's that since we talking about blackness, let's talk about this whole situation with Cleopatra and the Arabs getting mad in Egypt, man. What's wrong with them? What's wrong with them with the Arab people in Egypt, man? What's they beef with Cleopatra being black, man?
So I think part of the issue here is these undertones of colonialism, right? I think it's these undertones. I think if she was played by a white person, they wouldn't have the same reaction.
We know they would. We know they would.
They would be like, "Oh, it's pretty accurate to me," you know. So I think that's part of the issue. The other side, I think, you know, they're saying, you know, we want the character to be represented by somebody who they say that looks like us, right? And I think what we got to do is focus on understanding our own historical narrative as African people. Like, we have to look past just, I think that there's like this over glorification of Egypt, right? And I think we have to look towards West Africa, and I think we have to look towards our history. Even here in America, there's so many stories that are just not being told. Like I said, I'm glad they made the movie about Harriet Tubman, or it's Queen Annie and the Maroons, Queen Mother Moore and the New African Movement. I think they just released a documentary with Tupac and his mother, Sada, or Afeni Shakur. So I think that there's these things that we could do to say, hey, look, let's focus on our story on or even Queen Nzinga, or any of the African women warriors from the Congo, West Africa, like Winnie Mandela, anything. Right. And so I think we have to get away from trying to glorify too much ancient Egyptian history. Right. I think that there's too much of a focus there.
It is. And then it just also made me think about, man, let's just say if they really believe the ancient Egyptian were per se Arab, why would they let people dig up graves and tombs? That's telling what they are. They don't believe it themselves. Can you imagine somebody going to Mecca digging up tombs and graves? Them Arabs would not have that, man. So you thinking you thinking they digging up these tombs, these ancient sites that they believe that theirs? They don't even believe it there because they wouldn't let these white folks just dig around.
But this is part of my biggest issue is there's a lot of anti-black racism in the Arab world. Trouble in the building.
What's up, man? What you got to add? He came on for a reason.
Oh, actually, I came on to really listen. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, yeah, I just really came on to listen, but I can tell you, just from my experience, I think y'all talking about racism in the Arab world.
Yeah,
we talking about that, and Cleopatra. They getting hot because they making it a black woman.
Man, them people so racist, man. I words can't even describe how racist I feel that they are. Just interacting with them, because I've been to the masjid a number of times. I participated in religious rites, so to speak, and I've never really felt comfortable dealing with those particular people, because I've always looked at it as a contradiction. Because, like, if you look at it, like, they supposed to be anti-pork or whatnot, but yet they always selling pork in our community. I see that as a contradiction.
Alcohol too.
Alcohol, cigarettes, whatever it is that they don't supposed to partake in, they have no problem selling to black folks. So I don't know. I dislike how they came in. What's the comedian's name?
Kevin Hart.
I dislike how they came in Kevin Hart. That was the first thing. The second thing was this situation with Cleopatra. And then really the most important to me was the fact that how historically Arabs has participated in slavery, and how I know now in certain African continent, particularly in the north, maybe in sub-Saharan Africa as well, that they participate in slavery up until this day, especially in countries like Libya,
Mhm.
after Muammar Gaddafi, etc. They still participate in forms of slavery, and they have no problem with targeting African people. And it don't matter if they Islamic. I don't want to hear nobody talking about they treat Islamic people differently. It's about your skin color. It's about your ethnic background. To hell with that Islam shit. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah.
I say.
And that's where a lot of times us in the grassroots movement where we kind of have a split where we talk about it's a class struggle. Two
Mhm.
things can be right at once. It can be a class struggle, but also uh the race can play a part as at the same time because we get a lot of our brothers that they hard on the socialist front. I feel like I'm a socialist per se too, but I know I'm black first. It's a class struggle, but I'm black first, and I know at the end of the day, some of your you have some racist socialists, So it ain't just about class struggle 100%. Two things can be right at once.
Yeah, and you know that era of slave trade predated the it really kicked off the
It
transatlantic
kicked
slave
off.
trade. Yeah, yeah. So and that era of hierarchy. When I was in the All African People's Revolutionary Party, like we were in there with people from the Sudan and all over East Africa, and they were just like, man, the same way whites use their whiteness and Christianity to dominate over blacks, Arabs use Islam and their Arabness to suppress blacks in East Africa, right? And I think it's kind of a contradiction to overlook the pure racism that's going on there for just purely class struggle sake. Garvey seen that. I think Garvey understood the necessity of having a powerful Africa to defend our people globally, right? I think that's something that he had over the socialists, right? I do understand socialists need to say, hey, global capitalism is going to be a problem, so we're going to have to find allies. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we're going to have to be able to put them in check when we need to. And that's only going to come off a global black solidarity front, and not dealing with these. Well, if we are going to deal with the errors, we make sure we can put them in check.
Man, they're gonna try to put us on that black box, man. They ain't trying to deal with that. Hey, they're gonna try to put us on that black box, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Hold on,
That's
what's the black box, man?
man, the Ka'abara, man. You know what I'm
Man, I
saying?
don't know what that is, man. You
Hey,
have to
man.
explain that, man. I'm
Hey,
sure somebody
man.
else don't know what that is. What's
Hey,
that?
hey, man. We shalat towards Mecca. You know what I'm saying? And we make seven circuits around the Kaaba. You know what I'm saying? And that's where Muslims around the world they make salat or prayer in that direction towards the
Okay.
east. That's the kind of the idea for the unification of Muslims around the world. Now, my criticism, generally, just so folks will know, my criticism is not of what is commonly referred to as black Muslims. And my father was a so-called black Muslim. My uncles were black Muslims. My aunt, my mom were all a part of that movement. So I'm not I'm not being critical of those people, but I am critical of the people that follow Pan Arabism, that aspect of Islam, which is that Pan Arabism form of Islam, is what I'm being critical of. I think us as black people, if we can't see ourselves in a deified form, us being God, so to speak, then we spinning our wheels, and that's why I love ATR, traditional African spirituality, because we become deified in ourselves. You know what I mean? We can see God in ourselves, and not necessarily seeing God through the lens. Excuse me, seeing God through the lens of other people, and that's
Mm,
important. So I do expose my children to certain aspects of degrees of knowledge, but at the end of the day, I need for my kids, myself, my family to see ourselves as a part of that God process, not looking through someone else's lens, not speaking someone else's language.
Mm.
Because that's another thing that gets to me. And what I mean when I say speaking, I got how we've gotten English, and I understand the colonialism, how we received English. But what I'm saying is going out our way to absolutely learn another person's language, another person's experience without first investigating our own traditional African languages, our own traditional African spirituality. I think it's just ignorant for us to continue to do that. So hopefully we find our way.
Man, good man. Right on, man. That's a good point. And I see Bab in the comment section. What's up, Bab? Bab in the comment section. That's my good brother Bab out of Dallas, man. Bab, he got a lot of if y'all trying to get into IT, especially to be a program or project manager, he got classes. Definitely you see his China Your Tech homeboy. So that's the good brother Bab, man. Y'all hit him up, see how he can get y'all in them classes, to get into IT project management, Scrum work, that Scrum life. But yeah, man, that's definitely that's y'all feel made great points, man. But we definitely got to work on unification, man. African people, Black Americans, whatever you want to call it, FBA. We need to reconnect to people in the diaspora, Brazil, different countries in Africa. We all need to unify and work together. It faults on both sides, like you said earlier, Zaire. It's some fault on our side, it's some fault on their sides over there. But I think the internet blow up things more than what it really is at the same time, too. Like for instance, I was just talking about my brother Bab. Me and Bab ain't never had no issues. Bab is a Nigerian. I mean, I think if I'm correct, Bab can correct me. He was born over here, but his parents is from Nigeria. Me and Bab ain't never had no issues, man. Bab ain't never gave me no problems. He never said, man, y'all. I ain't never heard Bab say, man, y'all American people, this and that and the third. I only got love from Bab and his family and different things like that. So I think the internet just blow things up from more than what it really is. The people I met that came from countries in the Congo showed love to me. I ain't never had no issues. I met people from Nigeria, Congo, Congolese people, just different people. Ghana, never gave me any issues. I don't know if they talked about me behind my back about, but I ain't never seen none in my face up front per se. The guy I met from the Congo, he was married to a Black American woman. So she never told me, like, man, my husband say this and that about y'all Black American folks or anything like that. So I'm not saying other people experience with people from the continent is not true, but I think the internet does blow it up more than what it really is too, So I'm all about working on the common ground and things we can connect on and not the issues. I'm not saying we overlook the issues, but a lot of times it's some that can be we can deal with that petty shit, on later on. But yeah, man. But I didn't want to get on here and just ramble on. Zaire, man, I know I ain't want to keep you too long. Anything else you want to add, man? I know we went on a lot of different topics,
One thing is it's very okay and promoted to understand that we can have unity with diversity. So it's nothing wrong with saying, hey, look, we're here in America and we do have a culture. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's something that can be respected and studied worldwide. That's great. And it's okay for a person to be a Khan, Yoruba, Awe, whatever, Zulu, that Haitian, Jamaican, Afro, Brazilian, all of these things. It's great to have a diversity. So, and we look for commonalities, but that doesn't mean that we have to, hate each other or say you're not appreciating this. We all do need to study each other. That's one of the first principles I write in the 6 African virtues is reverence, which is having a deep respect for one another and as African people. And that's what that really begins with. Yafeo brought up a good point. Malafi Asante had said the same, that he called Islam Arab nationalism. And we got to understand the big role that religion plays when it intersects with race, ethnic culture, identity, and class. It could be something that it'd be very powerful in unifying us. And so, you know, when we have our gods, when we have our religions, it should reflect, and it should also teach us about our blackness and have something to be proud of, and root us in our struggle. And so, yeah.
And y'all, I'm gonna give you the last word too, brother. What anything you want to leave before we dip out of here tonight? You might want to talk about the projects you working on. What, I know you got a lot going on, man. That's that project, man. The renaming of the park.
Oh, that. Oh, okay.
Well, first, let me apologize to your fan. He probably don't want to be compared to Malafi Asante.
Man, that man know me well, man. That man know me well.
So let me apologize, but he said the same thing. But you know.
Well, you know, I think locally, as far as the organizing, as far as what we doing locally from an institutional level, one of the main things that we're doing for us community movement builders, for us CIVN, for us the local group, grassroots groups, is renaming things in honor of our ancestors. And so Kentu is a part of the process as well, renaming College Park in honor of Fahim J. Minka. There's some couple other projects. Soon as this ends, whatever happens there, I want to jump on 2 more projects almost at the same time. And that's just really to change the landscape of what we refer to as Oak Cliff. I think if you look at it in the 90s and in the 80s, the honorable Marvin E. Crenshaw, original Black Panther from Dallas, Texas, was able to change what was that, Martin Luther King Boulevard. Well, he changed Oakland to Martin Luther King Boulevard. No. Forest Avenue to Martin Luther King Boulevard. Oakland to Malcolm X Boulevard. What else? What else he do? He changed the whole structure of city government from it was an at-large system. Now it's a 14-1 city government, which means 14 city council representatives with 1 mayor. 14-1. He changed that with a lawsuit. What else? He honored his mentor. So I know I'm getting off track with Higgins.
No.
With Higgins in South Dallas. There's a street called in honor of Miss Higgins in South Dallas. I said it all to say is that there's a term that we created called landscape reparations. And basically what that means is that we can change the landscape in our communities to reflect our leadership so that we can look positively at our leadership. And one of the people that we want to honor is Fahim J. Minka, who was an awesome guy. We knew him personally. Everybody we talking about, we knew personally. And he was an awesome leader, mentor to myself, to Kentu, to others. And we're working on renaming them. We almost at the finish line. We got to have this second meeting. Once we have the second meeting, it'll go to a vote. Hopefully it happens. If it don't happen, then we'll continue to strive for it either way.
I say. Man, hey, good stuff, man. I appreciate y'all jumping on tonight. Like I said, man, it's been about 3 weeks since I did a video, man. But we're gonna try to do this weekly, man. Just us 3. Let's try to do this weekly, man. I love chopping it up with you guys, man, because y'all got so much knowledge and insight to talking about different topics, man. I'm just a student under y'all, man. I'm like I'm a pupil under y'all. I'm just trying to learn, man.
We're student others out here. We're students out here. That's straight up.
Zaire got that knowledge, man.
Yeah, straight up. That's a professor, man. Check his resume.
Hey, man, they don't know, but they about to know when we gonna hit them up every week, man.
Just get the book when it come out. That's all I'm gonna say. We're gonna have a whole new spiritual movement.
I'm gonna be one of the first ones.
I want a signed copy. I want to get my signed copy, man.
All right.
But appreciate y'all for jumping on. Also, guys, like I said, if y'all enjoy what y'all watch tonight, please remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, share, so we can get this knowledge out and great topics, But other than that, we out of here. All power to the people.
Power to the people. Out.